All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the Center Street Boys episode 7.
Yes, sir.
All right, you already know the crew, the hosts. We have S.T.RAP Strap, we have DIPO Dipo, and we have DEZ Des. Fellas, how have you been? How's everything going?
It's been a long week. We're here.
You know, I see the new setup over there in Dipo's area. How are you enjoying the new microphone? It sounds pretty cool.
Just a minor upgrade.
Come on, man. Give credit where it's due.
Yeah.
What credit are you talking about?
Sounds amazing. What's up, Des?
Man, same old same, man. Just like Dipo said, we're here. Different week.
Yes, sir.
Same stuff. Work. Just trying to get by as usual.
Right. Have you guys been following sports and what's happening socially with, the protests and the boycotting of the playoffs? What do you guys feel about that? How is everything going in your world with that?
Yeah, man. For me, I think it's been a long time coming. Like these, like they've been saying, this is just too much, man. Like personally, I was so reluctant to watch that video of I think it's Jacob Blake who got shot 7 times in the back. In the back, man. It's not even face up. That's just tough, man. As a black man to see like the things that we've been talking about, all the protests and everything that people are fighting for, like it's not going away. It seems like we're trying to say something, but nobody can hear us. And that's very sad. That's sad. So like, for me personally, I'm supporting the NBA players and everybody who's out there protesting, whether it's to boycott the league. I mean, I love NBA, but they're just things that are way bigger than basketball, way bigger than entertainment. So yeah, that's where I stand with that.
Yeah. I think I concur with that. My gut feeling is just, I feel like it's just not enough. I personally was on the side of maybe even scrapping the whole playoffs, or from an NFL standpoint, just especially how far back in the NFL is. I was of opinion that just go home. Now, obviously, we know the flip side is everyone's got to fit the family. So,
absolutely,
the monetary aspect, when you pull that in, it becomes more of a one-to-one issues. Like you and your family, you and your team. Are you set to where you could, do you have breathing room to take that stand? But as you've seen in the NBA, I think they've worked best with what they have. I personally would have wanted something more, a lot more than just a couple of days. I feel, but hey, I guess it's a step in the right direction. So we'll see how far this goes.
Yeah, just like Des, initially I had my energy wouldn't let me watch the video because we are consuming all this stuff and you're absorbing all this energy, and I just didn't want to watch it for my spirit because I already knew what's going to happen. So from reading the title or the title of the video, I already knew this is going to end up bad. But I was in one of my friends' group chats and it was shared, and I was like, you know what? Let me watch it. I watched the video, and to me, my biggest takeaway is this. I mean, we see this a lot, right? It's becoming somewhat, it's scary to think about it, but we are getting callous to these things because every 2 weeks a video will show up with somebody getting executed, and it happens to be a person of, a black male. I mean, of course, we do have people that were executed in their sleep, in Breonna Taylor, but just how the narrative switches every time that happens. They're quick to look for all the bad things he did, and then they'll, in that same vein, which is weird, the irony is protesters are getting shot, but the person who shot was of a different color. The teenage shooter a different narrative is brought up that he was helping the community. The pictures of both of them are different when they're displaying. I think on the New York Post, one
Yeah.
of a guy, standing there with, they'll talk about his past criminal history. The other one is a 17-year-old cleaning up his community. I'm like, it's this narrative that kind of makes, I mean, it's not hidden. The agenda is never hidden. The agenda is there, clear to see.
Yeah.
And another thing that I was thinking about this whole situation, just being a new parent, is the trauma that these kids who witnessed their father getting an attempted execution in the presence of that, because, I could speak for myself. My dad was my superhero, like just imagine in a kid's mind, you witness your father being executed,
Yeah.
God willing, fortunately he survived. I mean, he survived death. He's going to be paralyzed, but that lawsuit is going to be something for the history. The state,
Yeah,
the,
man.
the state of, I think, Wisconsin, I don't know who they're going to sue, the state or the city, but that settlement is going to be legendary because the person survived. Most of these people die, but the person survived. That's another thing, because the person can use, when with the case, I know lawyers can say the mental aspect of him living
Yeah.
on can be a thing. That's why when they beat up the guy in LA for the LA riots, Rodney King, is
Yeah.
because he didn't die, and there's that thing of paying not only the family for the death and everyone wanting to pay for your burial, but now how do I live a normal life?
Right.
That settlement is going to leave maybe some people broke. It's going to change a lot, and that's a beautiful. I mean, I don't want to look, but I want to look for the bright side. He is alive, and
Yeah.
in courts, that's going to change a lot. And viewership, I know we had to start off, and this is the elephant in the room. We have to talk about this before we get into
Yeah.
the podcast.
No, man. Yeah, yeah, that's good. Like we have to talk about these issues. We have to talk about these things. Like we are not people that will just go out and ignore what we're seeing, especially as black men. I think we owe it to ourselves to bring up these issues. And I just like the fact that you brought up the whole like media and how like people are portrayed in a different under different lights on social media, the internet these days, which is great because we're going to talk about technology today. So that's part of technology, like using social media, using your computer and your phone to share like news and information. And you just see how information can change the whole view of someone or like a situation. And in this case, Jacob Blake is being portrayed as this and that. Obviously, not trying to put him under his best, making it look like he's not someone who's in his best behavior compared to the other guy who shot people willingly.
Right.
So yeah, fellas, I think it's about time we jump on our topic today.
Absolutely.
So, like I was saying, we will be talking about technology today. Technology involves a lot of things. We have phones, the use of phones. We have AIs. There's so much that comes in play when we talk about technology. I just want to see, know what you got, fellows, think about technology in life. Like, what is it for you?
I almost want to dive into the deep end and throw a paranoid spin to it, especially because of the space I am in on a day-to-day basis. Technology is great. It's helped in a lot of advancements in a lot of ways. Think back to high school. I think for most of us, well, being in boarding school, I was in a school where phones were not allowed that much, but it really wasn't that much of an issue. It really didn't really come to mind, as a high school, as a teenager back then. But you fast forward to 10 plus years now, and it's almost something you can't do without, right?
Yeah.
Be it your phones, just the internet in general, your phones. Now you have so many different. You have a plethora of platforms with which you could do whatever it is you want to do, from your PCs to your Macs. We've come a long way. Different platforms doing different things, and as we as we move on, you go from technology, you pull in social media, AI, like you said, automation, just so many different things, so many different levels. Unfortunately, with all that, then breeds privacy,
Yeah.
Yep.
and then that breeds security. So, so at some point, it becomes more of a conscious effort to censor what you do on I guess on a regular basis. I think we went from it being a luxury when it was more of a luxury. I feel like you weren't necessarily too bothered about this privacy and security and security aspect of it.
Yeah.
Now that it's become more of a day-to-day thing, it's more of a live with than live without. Now we're having to worry about so much more than just the tools or the means that we have. Now it's okay. Are you willing to negate your privacy for this? I think we kind of had that conversation last time we were here when we were talking about what's it called?
Google Homes.
About Google Homes and your home
Yeah.
systems and cameras and all that. Is how safe do you really think you are, or what? I guess becomes the not really opportunity cost, but which is more preference for you, having that security or knowing that, I guess, being paranoid of some sort, knowing that means you really, I mean, you do say you control it, but it only takes it doesn't take that much for whatever it is you think you're private about or you're hiding to become public knowledge. So and I think the determining factor was where are you, of what social
Right.
of what
Yeah.
social level are you to where
Yeah.
you're concerned about what your daily browsing. It's kind of like at work, right?
Yeah.
Where you go to YouTube, sometimes you do this, you browse, and off times you might be doing this, but you kind of know at some point, okay, I shouldn't really be looking at all this stuff on my work on while at work for a longer period of time. But then you flip that coming to your personal space, you have to make that decision. It's like when you sign into things, you're using Facebook as a means to connect through different platforms, 5-6 platforms here and there. It's so crazy because I've touched on so many different things, so many different levels. It's fun times, So
Yeah, I mean, it's a very broad, interesting topic because of the idea of technology. I mean, and technology is relative, the technology they had in the days of the Egyptian pharaohs when they're building these pyramids, to technology in the 60s when they introduced maybe a printer, because they were doing printing, they were printing presses, but now creating a machine to the computer. If you explain to someone in 1960s, there's something called an email where you can send something to someone in New Zealand who's a few hours ahead of you, but they'll receive it instantaneous. They'll receive it, synchronistically to that time. Is amazing. Technology, yes, is a necessary evil. I want to be careful with that word because
I mean that's an honest term though. If you're being factual, that is. Yeah.
It's a necessary evil. And I think if you don't jump on the bus of technology, they'll look at you like a dinosaur and somehow they'll extinct your participation in life. I would say we talked about automation and artificial intelligence, right? We don't know. A lot of us are participating in a lot of these things, but even not consciously knowing they're doing that. Yeah. I recently read an article, I think a year ago, about your online. There's your physical body, but there's your online body. Yeah. So whenever you have a Google account and you're Googling, you're leaving timestamps or breadcrumbs where people can trace you, right? Mm-hmm. Or money trails, whatever you want to call it. So whatever website you go to, whether it's, let's say me, Arsenal shopping, or, to YouTube, to Amazon, whatever thing I go on Amazon, and whatever item I buy on Amazon, Google is saving my data. And then you find that Google knows exactly what you want at the exact same period that you want it. And they will know when you got paid because they understand your activity and how much you're spending.
Yeah.
Well, to the average America, that's scary. But because you think you're losing that key thing that we all want, which is privacy. But
Hmm.
seriously, we lost privacy a long time ago. A lot of us have these iPhones, right? Whoever reads the policies and all the stuff that they give you before you click, we all just go directly to yes, I agree. So if you are fine combing, do you read through all that?
No,
No,
I'm just messing with you,
I
man.
don't. I don't. I personally.
so so you're
I
giving up
personally.
data. It's I think the next world war is not going. It's not going to be on physical bleeding. It's going to be a data war because data is our banks. Our banks right now, money is going to be not paper. I mean, it's digital, so it's data based. Everything is
Yeah.
data based.
Yeah.
So they can bleed you out by starvation. So if a country, imagine this, if a country that wanted to do something bad to another country, you have the hackers and they hack these banks.
Yeah.
That means it's not about the legal tender. Legal tender is nothing. And that's why I tell people you sound silly because right now they're giving out stimulus packages. But do you know about inflation? If you're circulating all that money, that means nothing. Go to Zimbabwe, you'll see that, you know, you'll
Yeah.
be a billionaire, but that's equivalent to something else in another country. So anyway, that idea of we are living in a data world and data is value. That's why Google is what? It's the data. It stores a lot of servers. A lot of everyone don't know about servers, but servers. Google is a big server, and all these companies use Google. So all the data that they're collecting, they're selling it to all these different companies to help strategic market for anything. But imagine a country had a team of hackers, and I would say maybe China has one. Anyway, Russia, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Are you saying that because you're trying to be politically correct, or
Okay,
you're?
I'm just I'm just saying an example. This is
Well,
hypothetical.
we don't have the facts. We don't work in the
Yeah,
government.
yeah, I
So
don't know.
yeah.
So
Okay.
hypothetical, okay?
We'll leave it at that.
What if
Yeah.
a country has hackers and they hack the bureau of let's say finance? I don't know. I'm just making up something where they bring the equivalent of your currency because here we go by gold standard, but I think that's an old standard. I don't know if we even go by that anymore. But AI and technology is scary that if the hackers go into the right places, we are all going to go in a frenzy and it will cause starvation. It will cause cannibalism. Cannibalism is not physically eating, but endangering your neighbor because everything you have, your account is, we're all doing e-banking. We are doing electric banking. We are doing all these different things. We are buying with Apple Pay, Google Pay. Imagine how crazy that is and how far we have come from having a tangible equivalent to value, which was gold, because everything was based on gold, the price of gold. That's why you have currency. But that's just a curveball for us to think in that technology world of necessary evil.
Yeah, man. Yeah, technology is great. Yeah, it is great, but at the same time, it's also scary because you can tell based on straps,
And this just
points
I
like
made that up.
the
I'm just guessing. I'm just
no, but no, that's true. Now you're not lying. That's exactly what technology is about. Like there's so much involved in technology. Like you said, every time we go on Google on website, we leave what they call like web digital footprints. So um, you're not lying. So something very interesting. If nobody believes it, just try to go on some website like Facebook, search for things, and come back like maybe a couple of days later. You're gonna see the ads they're gonna be showing you are gonna be targeted and are gonna be related to whatever you search for, like maybe 2 or 3 days earlier. That's how they get you, and that's how they do. I guess it's called smart marketing. But yeah, technology for me, technology is first of all, it's something great. There's some pros and cons to technology. Um, like the pros are technology allows us to be able to automate processes, which in return gives us more time to do other things because now you have a Google Home and you can tell Google, hey, Google, turn on the lights, and you don't have to walk to your switch to turn on the lights. Um, Personally, I'm a huge tech guy. I like to call myself a tech guy, well, quote unquote. It means I love technology. I think it just makes life easier, more comfortable. But at the same time, you always have to think about like, what is it I'm in for? Like, what is like in the back end of me using all this technology? Like, is my privacy compromised? And like Dipo was saying, we did talk about it. And what I told Dipo is like, until you are a person of interest, they're gonna leave you alone.
Yep.
That's how I make myself feel better. I'm like, well, as long as I don't have anything to hide, or I don't have anything out there that's very valuable or super valuable, they're gonna leave me alone. Until I get to that point, let me enjoy this ride. That's how I feel. I make myself feel better. But like I was saying, technology makes our life comfortable, easier. Growing up, most of us know we didn't have phones at like 4 or 5 years old. I remember my first phone was probably when I was, man, 16, 17 years old. Was Yeah, because it wasn't something that was very affordable back then, and it was not something that your parents would just go to the store and get you. Like, not everyone had it. So like the way I grew up was completely different compared to today, where technology is more affordable, it's more accessible to like more people. Like you see 9 years old and like 8 years old, 10 years old with phones, and they know how to use Facebook, they have Facebook accounts. So there's also the the cons of technology, or the downside. For me, it's like when it comes to human interactions, like it is affecting how we interact, or how we grow up as people, compared to when technology was not really out there for everyone to use. Personally, I used to love just going out there playing some basketball, some soccer, like give me a ball and I'm all set. Today, it's not the same. Like kids are not interested in these things that we grew up, you know, doing and loving, and that allowed us to be able to build these relationships with other people. Today, it's more like, give me my phone, let me get on Facebook, post pictures, and get the likes. So where do you guys stand when it comes to how technology is affecting like I won't say today's generation, because we kind of part of the same generation, but like the kids growing up these days compared to like how we're growing up, like how is it different, and do you think it's going in the right direction, or it's more like maybe inhibiting the like social life or like society, being able to build those human to human interactions, or is it getting better? Maybe, we going in we kind of like upgrading the lifestyles. Like, what do you guys think?
So I think first things first is realizing this, right? It's difficult from a science or tech perspective to control this, right? So for the layman, we have to almost come to realization that you can't necessarily control how the growth of it from a year to year basis. Good example is pulling in. So from a tech world, you may be working on something. So let's say something comes out today, in 6 months it becomes obsolete, right? And then in 18 months it's basically out of style. Pulling in privacy security into it. You're used to operating on an iPhone 7, and then next thing you know, in 6 months it's totally different ball game. So that aside, I think I'm gonna make a parallel to us as to me, or even to you, Des or Strap, right? So think about it this way: you living in Congo, Uganda, or Nigeria, and getting married and having kids there. Some things come natural to where you don't have to put in too much effort in regards to training your kids, right? You don't, it's something that I always thought about. If I grew up, if I settled in Nigeria, I won't be worried about putting too much emphasis on teaching my kid how to speak Yoruba or to speak Pidgin English, because they come naturally. I think same thing for all of us. But now living that scenery, and you move to the United States, it's more of a conscious effort, because it's not they don't have the same village or same community around them. So you as a parent, you have to make a conscious effort to make sure that if it's a want of you, if it's something that you desire for the kids to speak your language where you're from, you have to put in a lot more effort than you would normally do. Why? Because all your kids, they speak English. It's natural to them. I think it's almost the same thing for technology, right? Knowing that you can control it, in order to find a balance, you almost have to do the same thing for your kids because you can't stop them from having access to it. The only thing you can really do is control the usage and imbibing them things that you feel you want them to have. And then you almost have to, it's almost like parental guidance, right? Because it's hard for you to say no to kid to tech social media when you know that there's also money to be made from it, right? So you want them to be open to these things, but you also want to teach them or guide them to do things in the best way possible in the right path. Because obviously there's always two sides. There's always a good side and bad side to everything. That we mentioned some of the pros to technology that also comes to it. You know, I think being very, very aware of both sides to it is up to, I guess, us as individuals. I think as parents first. I think for us it's a lot easier for us to see these things because we grew up through it. We came up in an era where it wasn't that much. Now we're in an era where it is. So we see the things that we love to do that we don't necessarily do anymore. And we see the differences between us and I think 2 generations after us. But how do their parents then help them, direct them on the right path, knowing that you really can't stop the moving train. You can only adjust it the best way possible because that's something you can control. Right. You can't control your 8-year-old, 10-year-old from I guess you can to some sorts, but then it becomes a thing of, are you stopping your kid from doing things, or do you sit down with them and enlighten them and say, okay, even in as much as you feel this is a necessity, you need to be very, 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 very aware and conscious of the things you do. You can either be like the 8-10-year-old kid on YouTube who's making like millions and millions of views on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and making money, or you could be a troll on the internet and basically just fall by the wayside. So it's a difficult balance, but I think just like in tech security, where they say the most vulnerable, you could whatever level of security you have, you could have all the what's called the antiviruses, you can have the best email system, you have the best network security system. At the end of the day, it's the human part of it that's still the most vulnerable. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to things like this, I think it's still us. We make it, we still control it. Mm-hmm. AI hasn't necessarily taken over fully. Well, not to my knowledge, but even with AI, we still put in the effort into making AI as intelligent as it is on a regular basis. So, yeah.
Yeah. Going back to Des's original question based on effects of technology, whether pros or cons, but just the effect, we do have good things that came from advancement in technology. Look at right now, us being able to view the mishaps or the missteps of these police officers when they do these crimes, which is like, violating, citizens' rights and, either killing them or even hurting them. If it wasn't for camera phones before Mark Zuckerberg, there were camera phones actually, to be honest. But, now that the accessibility of them, everyone has them. And yep. You could easily pull it out and record the action. Mm-hmm. But the effect of it would be, well, now that you have the camera phone and you're pulling it out, how about put the camera phone down and go help? It's saying everyone wants to capture somebody drowning. How about what happened before the technology? Were they going and saving that person? So that's a double-edged sword. There's a positive now that you're seeing things, but again, it shows you is the person behind the camera stupid. Okay, and then another thing is this. Let's talk about the development of the human mind, right? Unfortunately or fortunately, generations evolve. For good, for bad, I don't know, but we evolve. We came from being, and I hate this word, they call them knuckle draggers, like Neanderthal-like, to becoming this advanced human being that we are. Now, from that process or that metamorphosis, naturally we think we are getting better. But is that the case?
Right.
Now, with technology, kids are now in this time raised up with tablets, all these handheld devices that their brain and the way they adapt to assimilation is faster than someone who was raised in the 1970s, where they had to play with abacus, they had to color books, they had to go outside, climb a tree, or they had to go, ride bikes. There's a different level of assimilation and maybe hand-eye coordination when it comes to a person playing video games or something that never existed back in the day. But look at this. I listened to an interview by basketball legend John Sally, where he said the stuntedness of the average American male, where he says the average American male who, okay, pretty much, let me paraphrase it because I don't want to mess. He said it very well. He said that the reason why we have 47-year-olds or 37-year-olds, I think, I forgot the exact number. It could be, I think it was something said, but it was either 37 or 47-year-old teenagers is because of video games. But check this out. Video games was created to be an escapism from reality. You could be your favorite soccer player. You could be your favorite basketball player. You could now be engaged in those things. But he says the reason why most American men, or not most, but you'll find a lot of American men still staying with their parents in the basement playing video games or doing something, and they're stuck in that Peter Pan, I'll never go old mentality because of video games. He said his generation, you had to go out, you had to learn how to do vocational work, either fixing stuff, you had to learn how to do stuff. So it kind of like made you grow up faster. But in this generation, it stunts your growth and your development because now you're not applying yourself physically to things because the technology has advanced. I mean, it's a good thing because now we have esports where people make a lot of millions playing these sports, right? Video games. But the other side of it is, the people that are playing all that time they're spending playing the video game, are they killing a craft that they could have learned? Are they killing social skills that they could have learned if they left the house? Are they killing opportunity to network? But yeah, maybe they're networking interactively on a computer, but I mean, it's a double-edged sword. And also I want to leave this here before I pass it on to Des. The idea of technology and the advancement of technology, right? Do we look at technology in this case as it's slowly, is technology slowly controlling us? Think about that question. Is technology slowly creeping up? And I'm going to use a reference of the movie Terminator. Is the computer and algorithms deciding what we want? What colors are going to be, fashion world? Red is going to be the new color for what they do in Paris, Milan. Is the algorithms through coming up with a medicine, because you put something in a machine and it will tell you the medicine, the history of the chemical compounds that make this. Is the algorithm slowly taking over? Because you said the most important thing, that technology still lacks the human element of vulnerability. But are they slowly taking over us? We have the Tesla. Is it slowly taking over us? That's the question. I just thought it would be interesting to expand.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a really good point. I really like it because maybe I didn't make it clear when I asked the question. And I think Strap, as you were talking, some of the points you made related to what I really wanted to talk about. Like, is technology inhibiting the human to human interactions to the point where we are kind of losing ourselves and letting the technology or AIs that decide for us what we should be doing and what we need to do? That's a very good question, because to a certain degree, I think yes, because let's just think about, let's not go too far. Let's think about social media, right? Social media today. Before social media, like all of us, we lived before the social media time. We didn't have to go out there and pretend to look like certain people, pretend to like show ourselves under certain lights. Basically, let me be blunt, we were not being fake, because today a lot of people are being fake because of social media. So people are trying to show to the world that they live in a certain lifestyle that is not what their real life is about. And that's basically, to your point, technology, in this case social media, dictating how like a certain individual is going to live their life, is going to put like want people to see how they live, because they want to look good on social media. I've seen this video of, man, I don't remember, but he was about this woman who was trying to match everything she saw her friend do on social media. So her friend post like a video or picture of her husband giving her flowers, and she'll go to the store, get herself flowers, and post something on social media and say, "Hey, look what my husband gave me." You know, like all these things that we do, we are not getting away from reality. We are getting away from reality to live a life that is, like, most of the time, like 80% fake. I'm not saying we all do, but it seems like the majority of people that that are addicted to social media, because social media addiction is real, technology addiction is real, and that's usually what's causing people to get away from living like into the real world, and instead they choose to live their life based on what they see on TV, what they see on Facebook, on Twitter, and that's technology controlling us right there. I am not gonna say technology is bad, because look at us, we're able to have these podcasts during these challenging times. We're not forgetting about the COVID-19 challenges that everyone is going through right now, but we're still able to interact on Zoom. We're still able to do podcast. We're still able to be connected to technology. So like, this is great because we're able to communicate and we're able to share. And Strap made it like a very, very good point about like the current issues with Black men being murdered. Without technology, people won't be able to see that, but it's been happening for years. Like, and what we see on social media, on TV, is not even 1/10 of what's happening in America. That's just like, it's like like a drop of water in the ocean. However, people are able to see it now because we have technology. So there are a lot of good things with technology. And at the same time, we also have to look at it from like, is this really helping us become better people, better individuals, or is controlling us, like Strap was saying? And going back now to Dipo's point, where it's like we need to filter how we use technology, which is also great. And this is not just applicable to children, but even to us as adults.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? Like, why are you taking that picture of you pretending to have a nice meal? Who are you trying to impress? Like, why are you trying? You know what I mean? Like, who are you trying to impress? Like
Food porn.
yeah,
Hashtag food porn.
yeah. I'm just saying, like, that's crazy because we've all done it to a certain degree. We've all done it. Like, nobody can say like, I don't do that. I think everyone that has a phone has done it at one point or another. But
It's like saying the grace.
yeah, but right. But how much you let that take over your life is going to decide whether you really living your true life or you're just pretending and you're being fake. And I'm telling you, a lot of people today who want to get those likes and those comments, and then go out there and interact with their friends. Stop being fake, please. Stop being fake.
It's difficult to tell people that. I mean, it's easy to tell people that, but it's difficult for people to actually put that in perspective and actually do the right thing. At the end of the day, I think the bottom line is technology is great. The decision, it should be, most of the cons, if deep down, come from a personal, they're on a personal level. What decision are you making personally? And are you conscious of how far you are, how deep you are, in it? You guys brought up the social injustice side of it. It's been great in aspects like that. So I think so many different levels. We're talking about using drones to do things that people you would have normally done by themselves. You're using drones to survey lands, rather than having guys walk miles and miles just to go survey, using drones to inspect, train tracks rather than, having guys walking down miles and miles of train tracks just to, make sure everything is good, regardless of the weather, right? We're talking about 110 degree, 103 degree weathers to,
Yeah.
to, -0 weathers. That's putting human life a danger. But when you have technology to do that, it becomes a lot easier. And automation and AI makes those things a lot more accurate. Dimensions, and we could go into depth into areas like that of how those parts, robotics and all that plays into it. But
yeah,
I remember in grad school, I had a professor. I can't remember what state he was from, but he came in to do an interview for a director position for, I think, digital forensics. And just long story short, this conversation was about how, I think, he with his students, how possible was it for them to hack into the robot that was helping check blood pressure. I can't remember what it was, but
right.
Now we're talking about medicine and science, and I think bottom line was they were able to mess with the robot system.
Yeah.
And it ended up malfunctioning, and it was just one of those things where it's like, it's great, but you also have to, if I think technology is great as long as you have some level of paranoia and you always think about the what ifs. If you just let it run its course without being cautious of the negatives, then we're basically just a crash waiting to happen. But as long as you're level-headed, okay, yes, I've done this great thing, but people say, before I started in my line of career, the saying was, with every problem there's a solution. But now it's becoming a case of with every solution procured, there's always another underlying problem. So,
Yeah. I just want to add something to what you said about hacking. I was just recently having a conversation with someone about self-driven cars, and we were wondering when are we getting the flying cars, right? I was like, man, like way back, I was like, man, I would love to ride in a flying car, or like ride in a self-driven car. But then I'm thinking that like it's gonna be so easy not easy, but what if someone hacks into the system, and and they wanted to kill you, they wanted you to crash, like they can easily do it, like. So now I'm thinking, like, even if they had self-driven cars, like, should I go ahead and get one? Because I'm not sure who who's trying to get to me.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's not very far from from reality. Look at this. I know this for a fact. The military can hack a submarine radar, and not go detected, and the enemy can attack you because they have ways to suppress those machines. That's a game that we're playing as countries, is to make sure we have more technology than another country. They do that with even Air Force. If you're flying somewhere, you could go under the radar.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can do that with that, what do you think they can hack? They can hack a car, of course. And especially now, we're talking about being compromised. Think about this at the smallest level. Your credit card gets compromised all the time.
It's all right.
Now imagine you had something that was automated, that had your life is at its hand like this.
Yeah.
And then you talk about modern day or futuristic assassinations. If they didn't like you and there was a hacker, because now a car, you control yourself. And that's the thing. People like driving more than they like flying because they think in their mind, I'm controlling this, right?
Yeah.
Which I don't dare make sense. There are more car accidents than plane. But anyways, again, it's not the same relevance because people drive more than they fly, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah, I get it.
Human beings like that security of they're in control. With that and technology, you have to have that faith that, I know that somebody else is running this. You know, something else is running this. The algorithms, the traffic lights around the city, everything is run to perfection. Or if you're flying, I don't think you have traffic jam in the air, but and you know that type of thing. But anyways, bring us back into technology. Something that I just hit my mind when Deep was talking was when we're talking about filters, right? Or we're talking about ways to regulate ourselves with technology. Let's talk about sustainability and continuity. And maybe those are very vague action words, or you know, but let's talk about the future of livelihood, right? Everything changes. Okay, jobs open when technology advances, and jobs get extinct when technology advances. Point in case, when the gun was invented, the sword's craftmaster is not needed anymore.
Yeah.
It's a luxury to have a person who spends 100 years making the strongest steel when a gun is invented, right? When a gun is invented, an atomic, you know, things change. Let's talk about, and this is in war, let's talk about day-to-day life, right? I, for one, know that on a day-to-day we battle, or we as human beings are faced, we battle or we go to war with AI every day and not know it. One thing I caught myself battling AI is, first of all, the smallest place, the grocery. I go, I see self-checkout, and I see somebody standing there, cashier. In my head, I'm like, you know, let me keep that person's job. Let me make sure that they get people on their line. Because if you don't have their line, if you're in a business, then that person standing there is a liability if everyone wants to self-checkout with the AI, right? That's one. The death of customer service. Let's talk about in the 1950s, and I think they still do this in my country, in Uganda. We had fuel attendants, people that stood and pumped your gas.
Mm-hmm.
Now with AI and you using your card, what's the use of that person?
Right.
Let me bring that back. If the algorithms can find a way to do something, your job is at risk. Your job is at risk. My job is at risk in many sense. So you see where I'm going. We're talking about continuity, sustainability, and livelihood. When the machines work so good, do they control and take over our liability, or do you have to now live in a world where you have to know how to code? You have to know how to learn the language of the machine. Learn how to be the master of the machine. And I may be speaking in abstractions, but the tech guys know what I mean. Yeah. You have to know that language. You have to know, and that language is not it's not linguistics, it's computer language, right? Yeah. So what do you think about this? Are we gonna have jobs where we walk into an office, you know, because guess what? Like, machines don't take lunch break. Machines don't have PTO. Machines don't have paternity, maternity leave. Machines, you know, so the cost of work is way faster. What do you guys think about it? I think that's an interesting direction.
Man. Yeah, that's a really good question and topic. I mean, points that you just made, and this is what I know. Machines are coming for your job, Strap.
Absolutely. I know that. Like, you cannot code, you're done.
But for real, like, no, you're making some great points right there. And this is something that I thought about like a while back because of the current situation related to COVID-19, how people had to stop working and go home because people were afraid to get sick, or companies didn't want to be liable of people coming to work sick and getting other people sick. So they had to send people sick, and look what happened to the economy. People, like, the country lost a lot of money. It's basically a recession, if you want to say that, like a recession. And like the world economy is in a very, very bad shape just because of like a virus, right? And what do you think people in those big offices in corporate America, or like the corporate world, what do you think the thought process is right now? They're trying to find a way to mitigate that, to make sure that the next time around, because there's always going to be next time around, that we don't have to go through the same situation, lose money, because no business want to lose money, right? So now we talk about technology. Stop saying machines, they don't use PTO, they don't get sick, right? So they don't get viruses. Or they can get viruses, but I mean like biological viruses, they won't get, which humans obviously can get anytime. now the question is, do you think because of this pandemic and this experience that we're going through, because it's not over yet, do you think we're more likely to switch to using machines in the future, like Strap was saying, for jobs, just because it's safer to a certain degree, or humans are still valuable? You know,
I think for the time being we are. It also depends on what jobs you're talking about. More manual labor intensive jobs, that's a no-brainer. I'm sorry, but
the machines are coming.
The machines are coming for for those
Terminator.
guys. Yeah, for those guys, it's unfortunate because when you're
factory
talking about,
workers,
right? You're talking about physical strength. You're talking about a continuous process that hurts the body as well. So you're moving from point A to point B, 100 times a day. Yeah, that's a no-brainer. From a robotics standpoint, question is how durable is that machine? So now we pull in OT, right? So IT, you're talking about information technology. Now we're talking about operational technology, right? The biggest issue with them is how well can you secure that robot to not malfunction, either through his systems or because you hack into it.
Right.
And to my point earlier is your robot can go from carrying from point A to B to all of a sudden trying to strangle someone, or
Terminator,
murdering robots.
Right, I know, right? So if we're in a factory if we're in a place where it's all robots, then it's a different standpoint. But then you stand a chance of basically demoralizing that factory. So it's from that standpoint, it's almost a no-brainer. I feel like it's kind of like in present times, it's like, this is a continuous dilemma. It's people will go to school, you keep teaching people theories and all this, but you don't teach people how to make money. You don't teach people finance. You don't teach people all that. Mm-hmm. We're getting to the point where you have to, tech is a must. So as much as we, go back to my earlier points, as much as we are cautious of how we train our kids, it's a no-brainer, because you don't want your kid to be 15, 16 years old and be 5-10 years behind, because they may not be coding. Not some kids do, code at young age, but they may not all be coding. But is the brain to the speed of kids at their average age?
Yeah,
it's kind of like you're thinking about Twitch and all these things. Some kids are already miles and miles ahead, even to our standards, right? You have like 10, 12-year-old kids who are going far and beyond just the regular things that we do on social media. So it's but I think the more this is the determining factor to me. How well can AI function to the point where it doesn't need the human input or the human smarts to make it sharper? Can AI get to the point where, because we're going from the thinking to the doing, right? We know the doing is easy. You can easily what's it called, fine tune a robot to perform. But can AI think for you? Regardless of our roles, can AI go into a lab and so I think this is the reason why humans will probably would remain valuable is AI doesn't. I don't think AI will have the ability to have a light bulb moment, right?
Yeah.
So you're going through research, right? Is AI going to be efficient enough to go through research and always have light bulb moment every time?
Yeah. Dipo made a very, very good point. I like it. I like it because, so what I'm hearing is like AI can only go as far as human beings take it. You know what I mean? Like when you do the coding, you tell AI, this is what you need to be doing. AI is not going to go back and try to come up with like new coding. That new coding, it has to come from someone, from a human brain. Right. I mean, and you guys know we don't use the human brain to its full capacity. Like
Right.
like the human brain is like one of the most mysterious organs in the body, because most of us live a life where we don't actually get to use our brain to, I don't know, like not even 80%. Like it's like way low. And so the how smart AI gets depends on the person that's building AI.
Yeah.
So if your brain takes you up to 90%,
Yeah.
like you use your brain up to 90%, AI is gonna get up to that level. AI
Right.
is not gonna add the additional 10% to make it 100%.
Right.
So Dipo made a good point. So that's why I think, humans are
Yeah.
always going to be valuable. However, let's look at this from like a different angle. So now, like, how many humans can you put out there to tell AI what to do? Like, how many humans can
Now
be
check.
out there and try to build AI? The value of education. I think we've talked
Right.
about education in the past,
Right.
maybe one of our past episodes, and today it seems like people think experience is better than education because we end up in debt when you go to school.
Right.
But seeing how the world is going these days, like direction or the path that we're on right now, don't you guys think it's actually better to go ahead and invest our money into school and education? Because there's going to be at some point where a high school degree is not going to allow you to be able to get a job, just
Right.
because they have machines that can go to a factory and do your job and do even better.
Mm-hmm.
So now you think about, like, as human beings, maybe the only way we can stay in the game, or like the majority of us can stay in the game, will be by investing into education.
Yeah.
Food for thought.
Yeah. I would say I look at it in two angles with that question or that idea. I look at it in with the inception of everything. And this is the whole idea of the chicken and the egg, right? Idea. Which came first? The inception of everything. In this case, we know the developers and the designers came first for the AI, right?
Mhm.
But we don't put in account that AI is a lot more efficient than the human brain because it doesn't have problems with recalling. It doesn't have problems with not, because it's when you're building AI or any system, it's a cycle. It's a cycle. And it doesn't break that cycle. With
Yeah.
human beings, we have sporadicness. We don't have a method to all the things that we do. And when we get that, when we have a method, we call it routine. But our routine can change because it can get boring. Computers don't.
Mhm.
So that of the way a computer retains, because a computer or AI is based off a continuous accumulation of data. And that's how AI can stay dormant. You think it's dormant, but it's upgrading itself. And that's why there's the maintenance aspect of AI, where you have to see, this is happening, that is happening. I didn't do that. I didn't program it like that. A point in case, I shared with you guys an article where Facebook's AI, they were building these two AI robots, right? And they started communicating with each other in a different language. I mean, a language that the developers didn't know that these two robots are, and that got scary. And that was the thing in 2017 that they aborted mission. They're like, stop it. We don't want the robots to take over, because now if they're starting to speak with each other, that means there's a problem there where the developers are not understanding. Second point, the second angle I'm looking at it, we have the developers, we have the designers, and now we have the operators. That's a job. So now the AI has been put in production, right? Now, who are the people going to operate the AI? The operators can be in form of maintenance. Operators can be just people monitoring, right? Monitoring the AI. In this case, that's a very sustainable, reliable job to have. And that could be a career path for someone for livelihood. But are we all going to be operators? That's another case, because anything that we do can be automated. From our brushing our teeth, we could, you don't have to move too much, because AI is supposed to make our life easier. But the more you task your AI, it adjusts. It's just like you. It adjusts to, it adjusts. So like you're driving a car, right? It has its sensors. That's AI. but it adjusts to your driving style. You know about those cars. They will tell you, oh, he likes to step on the accelerator at this, he releases at that, he does this. Right now, in these new cars, they adjust to your driving style. And when somebody comes and drives, you have to adjust it. So there's that thing in there that I don't think the creators, I don't know how they did it, how they let room or bandwidth for you to fit into your own person, which is scary that there's that adjustability for AI, that the people that created it just left that door open. So it's deeper than, oh man, I just programmed it to do this and it's just going to do that.
No, I mean,
that's scary.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think I would say that the creators didn't know that AI was capable of doing that, adjusting to like your lifestyle habits. I think it's part of programming. Like when you, people that do like deep programming, maybe Dipo can speak to that better. They will tell you that like in coding, there's always a way you can tell a computer or like an AI, like you basically telling it to learn something. Because if you don't tell it to do it, it's not going to do it. It will not do it. The reason why it's doing this is because it's programmed in the first place to do so. You gave the example about the robot that was speaking in different languages. If whoever created the coding for that robot gave it the capability of being able to learn different languages fast through coding, obviously the computer or AI will learn the languages that the creator won't know, because they're able to get information and process it faster, like you said, like they do everything faster. So to your point, not all of us are going to be operators. Not all of us know how to do coding. So we, thank God, there's more than one field of work out there for us people that can do coding to go out there and do something else. And at the end of the day, I think there's something that AI is always going to miss. And I think the scientists or the people, the engineers out there, they're trying really hard to give it to AI, and that's having human emotions, like being able to feel anger, love, empathy, sympathy. AI right now they haven't gotten to that point yet. I think they're trying, but I don't think they're there yet. And this is where, like, say, if you get pulled over, say, let's assume like a police officer was an AI, you get pulled over and you did something bad, you were speeding, a human being could be like forgiving, you know what? I'm not going to give you a ticket today, I'll give you a warning. But an AI is going to give you a ticket because you're going over the speed limit. Right. So like, there's like certain jobs or certain field where the AI can do the job better than a human. But as long as it lacks that human-to-human interaction, emotions, human interaction, being able to understand other humans, they will not be able to take over that job. And that's why humans are always going to rule.
All right, final conclusions. Dipo, what you got to give us before we close the podcast?
For me, so I was thinking about something. First of all, you can't hack a human. You can social engineer.
Yeah.
Social engineer them, you can fish them to get what you need to operate technologically, but you can't hack a human.
You're using IT terms when you say fish. Explain to them what that is.
So phishing is basically your day-to-day scammers hacking through your emails. It could be spear phishing, it could be ransomware. Basically, phishing is tied to email or any means to gain information from a day-to-day user. So,
and which African group is I'm best at this? Keep going.
I got you.
You fell for the trap. You fell for the trap. I mean, it's real. It's real.
I mean, it's needed. You can't, throwing buzzwords out there. It's
boy.
But I got you. But that's the added advantage, right? We talk about the extension of skills and whatnot, but at the end of the day, any technology can be hacked into, which still makes it vulnerable. Now you're talking about jobs. You need people, from a security perspective, to find ways to not get those systems hacked. So it's a continuous loop, right? The more technology you do, the more AI it is, the more you have to find ways to secure it. So those would be jobs. So what does that happen? The humans are still more valuable because you need people you need think tanks. You need people to think on the fly to find ways to not make the systems vulnerable. So it's a revolving door. At the end of the day, you still need the human element, because we are only AI is only as good as we are. So we
Yeah.
think of it, make it happen. At the end of the day, you still, even if AI adapts, you still need to watch it, from so many different levels. So yeah, that's my final say.
All right, fellas, it was great. This was great, very insightful, very out of the box, because now we were challenging our futuristic thinking of what could possibly happen. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't want to scare you. We're just, just some young men that are just thinking, just want to challenge our thoughts, and things happen. So just like that, it's been another great episode of Center Street Boys.